but I'm going to let my good friend here get started. Again, he is the head football coach at New Albany High School there in the suburbs of Columbus, Ohio. Very good academics and athletic school. Vastly underrated, and Coach Finn is extremely underrated and won't take any limelight for himself, even though he deserves it. And my good friend, Coach Finn, the floor is yours.
All right. Shared. We can see it. We're
Yep,
good.
You're good.
Well, thank you for all of that. Coach Bandstra is correct. I'm not big on getting in front and getting videoed and all those things. So, but I definitely want to give a shout out to him. When he contacted me a number of years ago, I think it was literally maybe the day before COVID, maybe the pandemic happened. Reached out to me, and at that time I wasn't even the head coach, but wanted to know if we would be on this new thing that he was trying to do. And since then, to see where this has gone for him. For those of you that might be on here, if you haven't checked out his channel, and he's not paying me to do this, you should definitely check it out. I've benefited myself immensely from not just listening to some of the things that he's put out there, but the contacts. These guys that have gone on here, Coach Middleton, Coach Wilson, both of them. I don't know either one of them, but I can promise you that if you do reach out to them, I can almost guarantee you that they would be more than happy to get back with you. And I've created a lot of contacts that way. I've kind of done some things over the last few years because of these contacts, and I was only able to make them because of Coach Bandstra. So if you haven't reached out or haven't taken advantage of what he's got out there, I would encourage everybody to take a look at the playlist. Keep him in your contacts, reach out to him. For all the accolades he gave me, there's quite a few that he should probably give himself as well, as far as I'm concerned. This is just my information, my email, where I'm at on X, Twitter, that kind of stuff, and kind of the same thing that the other coaches have said. If you've got any questions, or don't hesitate to reach out, and if it's not myself that can answer a question based on anything that we do, we'll definitely get a hold of you. I'm fortunate to coach with a number of great individuals, and all of us would be willing to help out in any way possible. Coach Bandstra gave a little bit of background, a little bit about New Albany. I'm not going to go into that. I will just throw in there, for those that don't know, in the state of Ohio, there is over 700 schools that play football. And we're classified 1 through 7, 1 being the largest, 7 being the smallest. And we are a Division I program. With that being said, unlike maybe some of the other schools that have either been on here or will be on here, in Ohio, and it's a widely known thing, we are the most restricted sport in the state of Ohio. We don't get spring football. We don't have classes. We can't do anything legally until May 15th. And even when that rolls around, we're limited in what we can do. We're limited before that. We're not really allowed to do much at all in terms of like off-season stuff, other than really being the weight. There's not a whole lot that we can do. Now, there's some gray area things that you can do and things like that. But for the most part, we don't get an opportunity here in Ohio to take advantage of some of the things I know a lot of other states, a lot of other schools do. That's not here nor there. It's just the reality of what it is. Might help to understand a little bit of where we're coming from and how we do things and why we do certain things. We're labeled a wing T offense, but like I always tell everybody, I don't call us a wing T offense, because I think what we do is not traditional. It's not universal to the wing T world necessarily. There's probably some things that we do that would get us kicked out of the wing T club. But we do try to, day one, our base will be in what we call right and left, what a lot of people know is 100, 200, and we're going to put in buck, we're going to put in trap, and we're going to put in whack. Those things will definitely happen, and that's our base. But our philosophy as an offense, it goes back to a little bit what Coach Middleton was talking about earlier today. What I heard him say when I was jotting down some notes, he talked about like fitting what your kids can do. He was talking about the quarterback specifically, and we have that same exact philosophy. A lot of what Coach Middleton said, I almost, I was, excited, because what I was hearing him say is what I agree a lot of as well. From his efficiency standpoint, from taking kids and putting them into a certain spot, whether it's your quarterback or other people, whatever it is, we kind of have the same mindset. So for us, our philosophy is we're a tempo-based offense. We want to go quick. We want to go fast. We're going to have multiple formations. We're going to have multiple personnel packages. We shift, we trade, we motion. And our overall philosophy is we want to create an offense that all 11 people have to be defended. And that includes our offensive alignment. You can't be, and we're lucky at New Albany, we don't have this problem. And I mean that sarcastically. We don't have a ton of big, giant, slow linemen. If you are, you probably couldn't play for us up front. You got to be able to move, you got to be able to pull, you got to be able to trap, you got to be able to do those kinds of things. And so we want to force defenses when they put our film on. We hope that it isn't, oh, hey, it's a wing T offense. Then more likely they're looking at us and saying, oh, okay, they're doing a little bit different. You know, they're not just lining up in one or two things. Hey, the ball's definitely not always coming over here. You know, that's our goal. That's our goal. We want to force defenses to have to defend us across the board, no matter what our formation is, no matter what we're in personnel-wise or any of those kinds of things. The reason why I kind of went with this idea of trap today was because it was kind of a coincidence at the exact same time. The coach Bandstra reached out to me, and I kind of said, okay, I kind of had a feeling of a topic that I could look at. I was already doing a deep dive into our past season and kind of wanted to look back and kind of verify what I thought I knew. And I know that the 21 numbers are getting covered up here by me, unfortunately. But I wanted to verify that our inside game has a huge impact on our outside game and our overall points per game. And so I started specifically looking at trap and its correlation to buck and its correlation to our points per game. And so we didn't have a successful season by our standards last year. And when I look back and I go back to the offense and I can compare it to a lot of our other offenses over the past 5, 6, 7 seasons, whatever it might be, it kind of fit what I thought. For us to be successful, our trap play or our inside play has to be doing something for us. It isn't, we don't want to ground and pound. We're not just trying to get 3 or 4 yards and be done with that. We'll take it if that's what the defense is giving us. We're patient enough to do that, but we're really we want to be an explosive offense. And I know you can't see it over here, but our trap over here, I believe, was somewhere around 9, and I think our buck was around 8, something like that. And this particular year, we actually went undefeated. We were 12-0 that year. We had a really good season, and our points per game were in the 40s. So it kind of fit in tune with what I kind of thought, and so I was already going down this path of trap. Let me really deep dive into what was going on with our trap last year. Was it a me problem? Was it our talent problem? Was it a system problem? What is it? So I kind of started with that as I kind of went through it and started to do that. Kind of like the way why trap, or I guess why we still emphasize trap for us. Again, it's an explosive play for us. It's not meant to be a 3 or 4 yard play. And I always tell people when I tell the kids, look, trap doesn't work until it does. You'll run it, you won't get very many yards. You'll run it, you might lose it, hopefully never lose a yard, but maybe something happens and it doesn't work. But then eventually at some point in time, trap's going to pop. That's what I always tell them. It's going to pop at some point in time. And it fits all our formations. It fits all our personnel packages. It fits our tempo, our mentality of get off the ball. That's a lot what you'll hear us say a lot as coaches. A lot of times our offense is get off the ball, get off the ball, get off the ball, snap the ball and go. Okay. If you're going to make a mistake, you're the right tackle. You block down on a kid that's supposed to be trapped, well, then you better move them. Get him out of the way because this is a speed play. And if you don't get off the ball, we're telling that fullback he's going to run you over. So you best get off the ball. It's not run much these days anymore for some of the older coaches that are out there. You might remember a technique that used to be taught all the time. It used to be called a wrong arm. Wrong arm is not taught anymore. It used to be a staple of defensive line play, defensive end play, because of so much of the pulling and the trapping that isn't being seen quite as much anymore. And so people aren't really prepared for the trap. Now, I know it's kind of coming back. I've noticed it. It's kind of making its way back again in the NFL. Whether it's the Ravens or the 49ers or whoever, different versions of it, whatever it is. Obviously, we're talking the straight fullback trap for us. We can run different versions of traps with our halfback. We've got some counter type variations off of it but for today's purposes, I'm just strictly talking about the fullback, the inside trap play. We use a lot when we can and where we can the influence trap, which I think also can lead to a lot of explosive type plays. This isn't anything that's ground shaking. You can go to www.wingt.whatever, okay, and probably get these exact rules. But these are our rules that we use day one when we start installing our trap play. and I'm going to get a little bit into some specific things on some coaching points of what we do and sort of like how we kind of like coach certain things up. I don't know that we do it differently than anybody else. We probably don't. There are a couple things that I know that we do a little bit different that I've seen other teams that might be a wing tee based team do, especially with their tight end tackles and wings, that we might do a little bit different. But, universally, this is pretty much standard, the rules that everybody has when you come to trap. So a couple coaching points here for us, some things that we emphasize when we're running our trap. We teach our center, he has to step with his backside foot. So if we're trapping right, he has to step with his left foot. If we're trapping left, he has to step with his right foot. We tell the center his main job is to clear out the middle. Your job is to create a pass so this backside guard, whoever's trapping, can get through. So that's your number one responsibility. And we don't care where the guy is lined up. Since the center is responsible primarily for the backside A-gap, we teach him you're always going to step with that backside foot, no matter what, whether you're double teaming or not. I know it's different than maybe a lot of what other people teach when it comes to double teams, but we're going to step with that inside foot, and I'll show in a couple slides, make it a little more clear as to kind of why we do that. So if the center's stepping with his backside foot, we teach the guard you must step on the center's foot. So he's going to be inside out. Our trapping guard does not have to pancake anybody. Our trapping guard does not have to blow anybody up. He's a wedge. We need you to be inside out. We need your head to be on the inside. We need your shoulder to be on the inside. Whoever's coming down inside, you have to be a wedge and keep that person away from the hole so our fullback, who's going to be hitting this thing pretty quick, can make a decision on one way or another once he gets past the line of scrimmage. So we don't need kill shots here. I tell the kids this all the time. It's not about pancaking somebody. And for us, we've had a lot of success with some smaller guards that get this concept. They won't always create a giant hole. That's not what I need them to do. I just need you to make sure that whoever that kid is that's coming down inside that A gap, or maybe from that B gap to the A gap, or even a C gap down to a B gap, that you're doing enough so that our fullback can get through. If that 3 technique, 5 technique, 2 technique, whatever, if he can tackle the fullback while being blocked by our guard, so essentially tackling 2 people, then we're probably not running trap anyhow. Okay, if someone's that good, we got issues. All right, and we play a lot of really good teams, and so our kids get a lot of good practice of being inside out, inside out, inside out. Front side tackle, we got kind of a rule in our program. I tell the tackles all the time, look, there's 2 things we're not going to do. We're not going to go chasing waterfalls, and we're not going to go chasing linebackers. All right, and I'll show that again on the slides here coming up. And it's kind of the same rule for our tight end and our wing. This is where I think we might be a little bit different than some other teams that run the trap. We teach what's called a break point. We want our tight end and our wing to get what's called on the break point, and I'll show that here in a second. Our fullback has the midline, and again, running backs are running backs. Anybody that has ever coached running backs out there, we all know that there's certain things that sometimes you just don't teach. We'll never tell our fullback that if he sees daylight, you take daylight and you go. But we also teach him that, look, there's a wall coming down. So when in doubt, look for the wall. All right? Because this is where it's coming through. And you got to have a fullback. This is part of our problem last year. You got to have kids that aren't afraid to run trap, because there's a little bit of fear in there sometimes. It doesn't look good. It looks like there's nothing there, because the speed of how fast it's happening. Initially, the fullback may not see what's going on, but he's got to trust it. And so some of our best fullbacks we've ever had, once they get that concept, trap has usually been a pretty dangerous play for us. Backside tackle, he has what we call the cutoff. We can cut on the backside on certain techniques. We have the ability to do that, or calls that we can make for that. If he's not cutting off, then we tell him he's got what's called run the rail. Our backside tackles, again, because we're looking for guys that will get off the ball. We're looking for guys to be going downfield, looking at second level blocks where and when they can. Obviously, your halfback's got to have a good hard fake. Quarterback's got to have a good hard fakes. And then our hero block is always from any wide receivers that we might have, depending on our package that we might be putting together. So again, just to kind of go over a little bit of those coaching points that I just kind of talked about here. So again, I just kind of, somebody had already said it. I think it was Coach Middleton talked about this. Like, we don't always know exactly what defense we're going to get, and that holds true. We get a lot of different variations of some different things. Sometimes, for me, when I'm going back and looking at something, I think to myself, did they miss a line here, or is this really how they wanted to line up? Sometimes I think that might be due to our tempo and our speed. Sometimes it might be that the defenses are just trying to confuse us. It kind of varies, day to day, week to week, play to play, whatever it is. But if we were to get something that would look something like this, some variation of, some type of 4-3, 4-4, whatever it might be. Okay. If we were to get something like this, again, the center is going to step with his left foot. I don't care. I don't care if there's nobody back there or not anybody back there. He's still going to step with his left foot, even though they can make a double team here. And the reason why, again, we teach that is because he's got this backside A gap. If this linebacker wants to shoot through this gap, he's got to be ready by stepping with that left foot to know that he may have to take this linebacker. The way we teach a lot of our double teams, and again, it always goes back to what the kids can do all the time. If we're truly going to blow somebody off the ball, this is the best double team you can have, combo or whatever. This is how simple we try to make it. You take that nose and you shove him back to that linebacker. If that linebacker has to go over the top, great. I don't care. We'll live with that. If he makes a tackle for a 4 or 5 yard gain, so be it. All right. But if that linebacker comes underneath, that's a bigger problem. And so we want to get as much movement on this nose as we possibly can. If this center ever feels like, hey, I can't help this guard out because this linebacker's creeping up or he's coming, this guard's got to know for him, this is I'm coming down and I'm down blocking. All right. If I get help, great. If I don't get help, then I'm responsible for clearing this out so that my guard can get through. But we're going to step with this inside foot, this left foot. And then our guard here is taught to step on his inside foot. So he's going to replace the guard's foot or replace the center's foot so he can be inside out on this guy. Again, no one's teaching wrong arm that I'm aware of and have seen for a very long time. All right, if you don't know what wrong arm is, you can look it up. Essentially, it's trying to trap the trapper is probably the easiest way to say it. What I've noticed and what we've been getting a lot of for years now is people teaching this kid just to crash that gap. That might be his only job all game long, is to crash that gap. So I tell our guards, you've got to be inside out, be a wedge. I don't care if he goes around you. If he beats you around you and he makes the tackle, that's the fullback's problem, not you. All right? So if a guy wants to go way upfield, we'll sometimes let a guy go upfield and our guard will turn upfield and just start going to the next thing because he knows that guy's no longer a threat to me. He took himself completely out of the play. But we want to make sure that any tackle that wants to come down a defensive end or nose or whatever it is, that wants to come down inside, we're inside out the best that we can. Here's where I think we're a little bit different, or we vary maybe a little bit different from some other teams. Our tackle has his rule is what we call first inside linebacker. But we tell him all the time, that doesn't mean that the linebacker that lines up inside of you might not be your first inside linebacker. Don't go chasing linebackers. All right. So I tell tackles a lot of times, you may work to the backside linebacker. All right. Everybody's big on run fits these days. Who's running fit where going where, this, that, and the other, right? Well, these linebackers are taught against us anyhow. They're either probably going C to D. So tackle, don't waste your time trying to block this linebacker because he isn't going to be in there most of the time anyhow. All right. Most likely this linebacker, which is taught to play backside A to front side B, that's most likely the linebacker you're going to block. So don't go chasing a linebacker. Why? Trust that our tight end and our wing that is coming down, they have what's called break point. Okay? They're coming down inside and they're going to take care of any scraping thing, safety, linebacker, whatever it is. We call it break point because, again, we're creating a wall here for this fullback to potentially veer towards if he doesn't see daylight inside first. So we tell the guys, everybody from the tackle all the way out, you're going to the next first inside thing to the inside of you, whatever that might be. And that's hard. That's hard. The kids want to go, they want to go chasing a waterfall sometimes. All right. But we tell them, trust it. Don't do that. If we ever get a kid, and we have had, again, we play some really good teams in our schedule, in our league. Yes, we've had kids be able to knife in here every once in a while. They're just coming. They're just coming and they've been able to almost get down and cause a problem with the trap. If that happens, can we make an adjustment? Like, let's say he's a 7-eye, or maybe he's slightly inside the tight end. Sure, we'll tell the tight end, then, hey, look, you're going to have to stay home and block him. But whenever possible, these two guys, they're taught to dip and rip. We're dipping and ripping, and we're getting to the linebacker. The Z's coming down inside, or wings coming down inside. He's going to look up any linebacker to safeties. If nothing shows, we call break point because they'll break off and start working upfield. again, another variation of why I like trap is because you can put the influence blocking scheme into it as well. Again, the influence isn't for every defense. It's not great against everything. There are different circumstances and times where you want to use it. It is an answer, in my opinion, when you do have a kid that maybe that kid is knifing out, okay, or he's coming hard inside. This is another variation where then you can help take care of that kid. We'll use an influence block usually for one or two reasons. If everybody's reading guards, which I think traditionally everybody looks at that, but a lot of times we'll trap one techniques in here too. You know, if we get a bigger one technique and we're just not going to block down on him, real successfully, a lot of times we'll call that our short trap. We'll try and influence him out just to widen him, maybe to go with the guard, thinking maybe it's our sweep play. And then we'll trap anything that's inside here. Our rule is with our trap, we trap the first thing in or outside the hole. So for us, it's an A gap trap that we're trying to kick somebody out, wedge them out there. And so anybody that's in here is fair game to get trapped. We're not opposed to trapping away from a tight end wing. Again, one of the reasons why we like trap, it fits everything. It fits all our formations. It fits our personnel groupings, whatever it is. And we'll trap a lot of times opposite of the tight end wing as well. We'll get into, spread type looks and we'll trap. The only difference here is that we teach our halfback here or our other wing, whoever it might be, and it could be a personnel thing. We could have two tight ends here in the game that they got to understand now that they're responsible to come inside. They've got the break point now, just like the tight end did on the other side. From a practice perspective, again, we always get into smaller groups, to start off with, pods is kind of like, I know the new thing that everybody kind of talks a little bit about. So we'll do this from a practice perspective. We'll obviously start off talking about splits. When we trap, I want splits. Tell the guys this all the time. Splits. Whoever we're trapping, I want to widen them out. Okay. Even if you're going to end up down blocking on a technique to your inside guards, I still want you to widen out a little bit. Okay. Bring that guy with you a little bit, see what he wants to do. Tell kids all the time, you can get a lot of answers to the test by how you line up. You get a certain split and they move with you or they don't move with you. They're giving you exactly what you need to know. Where are they going? If they widen out with you, they probably want that gap. If they stay inside, they probably want that gap. So we try to tell the kids, hey, it starts with splits first thing. Go over our assignments and then we go over our techniques. And this will literally be a drill that I would run. Guard, center, guard. He'd be working, step on his left foot. He'd be inside out. We'd be trapping here. Guard would be working to this linebacker. And then we just rotate. So center becomes nose, guard becomes linebacker, guard becomes the trapper. And we just rotate that way. And then what we'll do, depending on the kids, depending on, what day we're on, whatever it is, we just start implementing different looks here. Now we can work a double team here with maybe a linebacker coming underneath, okay, or a linebacker playing over the top. We're still inside out. Center still stepping with the same foot. Nothing changes for him. Okay, get into something like this where now we can start talking about, okay, do we want to influence this? Do we want to influence with this guard, drop, go, kick out, trap here, block back? Or do we want to block down on this guy? Depending on the kids, depending on, how good we are up front, what we have in terms of, our kids in terms of how good they are or returning starters or whatever it is. When it comes to the influence, we've done it a couple of different ways. If I trust the guards, okay, they're heady, they've got experience, or they're, in general, pretty smart kids, I'll let them make the call. I'm not in the game. I'm not out there. I don't know where this kid's lined up. I have no clue. So there's times where we give the guards the free rein to make that decision and make that call. And then there's other times where we just send it in as a tag. We've got a word, a tag that they know that that's what it means. And anytime that we're influencing our tackles, our tight ends, our wings, they all know that, okay, I got to take the next inside guy no matter what. Whether I'm chasing or not chasing, I got to go to the next inside guy because we're losing somebody by influencing. I don't know if we've got enough time for film or not.
Coach, you got about safely. I can tell. Give me 3 seconds. I'll tell you. You got about 5 or 6 minutes. You can probably get through a couple clips.
Yeah, I don't have very many on here. Is it still sharing? We still good?
Yes,
here?
You're good, Coach.
All right, so I'm just going to jump to the back angle because it's really the only angle that matters in history of football. Anyhow, So this was last year. This was week 1, and this is kind of an example of what I mean by teams kind of like doing something that, again, not that we've never seen it, but you don't know week 1. You jump in, you don't know what's going on. Okay, and so they've predetermined that they were turning this guy inside. Okay, knowing that we like to run our trap, and it's one of our main plays, and so this was kind of like their answer to it here. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to block this like normal here. All right, I'm gonna kind of go slow with it because I know it's always kind of weird with film when you're on these things. Okay, first of all, I can tell you this: both of these guard stances stink, and I'm not real happy about that. Okay, I don't understand why our butts are so low. Okay, but our center should be stepping with his left foot, and it's hard to tell, but I can already tell I don't think he moved his left foot. My right guard's not doing a bad job, but he needs to really step towards here, and you're going to see why here in a second. Because as he comes through this gap, instead of being inside out, okay, he's almost face mask to face mask or almost slightly outside shoulder. Had he been a wedge, like he was taught to be inside out, okay, we're getting movement here on this guy. My guard ended up coming down. This linebacker that was on the backside has played over the top. You see my tight end and tackle are coming down to the break point. This thing should hit right in here. Okay. Now, this fullback's not trusting it, and I'm not saying I'm blaming, okay, because we're not inside out. It looks like it's closed. Now, had he stuck with it, maybe we would have been fine. Maybe we would have been good there. But because my guard's not inside out, what's that force this fullback to do? He decides to bounce it. As you can see here, this guy's fighting over the top. And now here's a free player coming inside because we weren't blocking him. Okay. Going wrong here. Okay. But I wanted to put this clip in here because I wanted to show kind of like the influence of what it does to these linebackers. This should not be an influence situation here. My guard should block down, but for some reason he influences out. He decides that he's going to drop, he's going to influence, and he's going to kick. And my center's going to block back on this 3 technique here. So 56 here is going to be unblocked. All right. If he made an influence call, this backside guard, again, he should be stepping on his center's foot. And he should be inside out. Maybe if he sees 56, maybe he gets a piece of him, but that's a lot to ask a true 1 technique like this. We'll trap something in his A gap, but probably not as head up as this guy is right here. So we influence here. But what you see is on this influence, look at this number 55 here. Okay. This 55 is flying out of there on the influence. So it's getting the desired effect from linebackers, but it's not getting the desired effect from this nose here that ends up being unblocked. And ends up just making an easy tackle there. All right, so there's some bad stuff. So let's take a look at just real quick at a good one here. Okay, not a good one as we got some on here where we've hit it for some big yards here. Okay, but this is an offensive line that was a little more established, senior led, very high IQ. Been through our program and had some starts under their belts, and so they're able to do things maybe a little bit better than our group was last year here. Okay, so I'm going to start with the wide angle just because it's a little bit of a better angle here. Okay, but you'll see our center's getting off the ball. He's going to block back. Okay, we've got a 2 technique or a 3 technique. He's inside this B gap here, so my guard's going to work to the backside linebacker or work to the next linebacker. This tackle should not chase. He should work to the backside linebacker. Tight end should work to the next linebacker. This guard should step inside out. This tackle should be cutting off on the backside. And again, this time, the fullback, and this is what I said earlier, like he could have ran the wall. You see the wall, my tight end tackle coming down, doing a good job of getting to this linebacker. He could have hugged it and bounced it here, but he saw daylight and he hit it up inside. We're never going to tell a fullback he's wrong, especially if he's going to score a touchdown. Okay, real quick from the back angle. Again, center gets good movement. Guard comes down, tackle comes down. Fullback sees it. Obviously, it was near the goal line, so he took the easy 5 yards. Real quick, just to show one big play here, show that we do have the capability of going some distances here. Okay, and this is with a successful influence trap here. Okay, and I'll show it from the back angle here in a second, but just to kind of show you the fullback bounce is this kind of wide. Okay, so in this scenario here, this is against a 4-3, which the influence is usually a pretty good call against the 4-3 here. Okay. So the guard made an influence call here. He's going to influence out. Okay. Center is going to block back. Guard is going to step on the foot of the center, which he does a pretty good job here. He's inside out. Great inside out here. Now the fullback, there is a lane here, but the fullback knows the wall's coming down inside. So he hugs the wall in this particular situation. He trusted the wall. Probably could have gone either way here, but he trusted the wall. Again, tight end's getting kind of bullied here. Not real happy about it. My tight end getting shoved down inside here. He should dip, rip, and get vertical. Okay. But you see the wing is also coming down inside. We're not worried about this guy right here because we got an influence call here, so we definitely don't have to worry about him. So a trap to us, again, is kind of a big play for us, or we try to make it a big play for us. It's not a ground and pound play. We want to try and get explosiveness out of it. Last thing real quick, to go along with what Coach Wilson just said, I don't care what offense, defense, special teams, whatever it is that you do, you do. But if you don't have great guys coaching with you to get your scheme across or your philosophy across or whatever it isn't going to work. No matter what it is, whether it's ground and pound, whether it's air raid, whatever you got. I'm fortunate to have a group of guys and they've been coaching with me for a very, very long time that buy into what we do. They understand our philosophy. They're down with it. And if it wasn't for them and these guys are on this screen, we wouldn't have the success some of the success we've had. It's really all about the assistants. And I know Coach Wilson kind of talked a little bit about that, I thought, with his last talk before I got on here. Talking about the importance of assistant coaches. Me being a former assistant coach, I 100% agree with that you're not going to get very far unless you've got some really good guys coaching with you. And I'm lucky to have these guys coaching with me. Again, this is our information, my information, whether it's myself or any of those guys I just had on that last slide. If you need anything or have any suggestions or any other questions that don't get answered here today, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you follow me on the social media stuff, I'll make sure to follow you back as well. Please reach out any way, shape, or form. Again, thanks guys for having New Albany on here. Thanks, Coach Bandstra, again for all that you've done, not just for for the coach community, but New Albany in particular and myself in particular. Thank you.
I do have one quick question before you go. Just because as I was watching it, like, do you ever run? Because I saw with your jet motion, do you ever run trap away from your jet motion? I seem to especially once you start getting that full flow. From experience, it seems to hit well for me. But do you guys run that at all, or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've dabbled in it, and again, I know people think you probably are paying me for this. Okay, but you had a coach from Michigan on one of your talks a couple of years ago that I reached out to, and I saw him. They were doing it extremely well, and I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, what's your coaching point?" Because with the quarterback, the quarterback's got to know to almost kind of like go a different direction. And so I kind of reached out to him and I said, hey, I was interested in kind of how they did it. And so, yes, we've done that before. We've reversed it and come back the other way with it. So, yes, we've done it. It's not something that we live on, but it's definitely something, again, I think it goes back to, again, kind of like what Coach Middleton was saying, some kids just aren't good at it. It seems like a simple thing. Well, okay, motion across this way, run trap back that way. And it's a very simple concept to all of us as adults. But to the kids, sometimes they're kind of like, well, wait a minute. Like the motion's going this way, the back's going this way. Like everything should go this way. This is kind of how you do it. And I think there's a comfort level to it that sometimes might stop you from wanting to do it or being able to do it. But yes, we've done it before. It is something that we have in our arsenal. I can tell you that we didn't do it last year because the kids that we had last year were very inexperienced in a lot of ways, in a lot of areas, and it just probably would have caused probably more headaches than it would have success. So we didn't do it at all last year. But we definitely did it. And then again, I saw it from, I stole it from, like I said, a coach that you had on here a number of years ago, and I reached out to him, and he was nice enough to, send me some messages back, and we talked about it.
And one more question, because I know we're short on time, but I did have a question just DM'd to me about the backfield footwork. Is there anything different you do there than typical wing T teams, and how anal are you with it before Coach Tucker gets started?
I don't want to speak, for Bobby Britton, is our running backs coach. So if anybody's got something specific, I'll definitely get the question to him. I would say that we've played around with where we'll put the fullback. Some fullbacks we put a little bit deeper. Heels are usually on 4, which I think is standard for everybody when you're running the trap. I'm assuming we're talking about the fullback here.
Yep.
And so, I believe that, there's nothing, I don't think there's anything different than what anybody else is taught. We're not teaching anything different. I think it's kind of universal for whatever it is, but there is something specific, like, is he if he's trapping, if we're going to the right, he's probably stepping with his left foot. If we're going to the right, he's probably initially stepping with his opposite foot to help clear everything out so that he can see where he's going. But if there's something more specific than that, don't hesitate to, like I said, reach out to me. And if there's a specific question, I'll definitely get the answer to that question.
Okay, perfect, Coach. Well, coaches, give Coach a follow or shoot him an email. And like I said, I appreciate Coach Finn for coming on. And like I said, it took me 4 years, but he finally got it back on, so that made me happy. Yeah. So now I got 4 more years before I got to harass you again. So just understand we've set a very strict time gap here on when you're supposed to appear. I will probably calculate it later down to the day, so you'll get a countdown. I'm just letting you know.
Seriously, thanks for everything you're doing. Like I said, I've utilized all your stuff, and I appreciate you. So
thank you.
I got you in 4 years.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, brother. Thank you.